Ladies and gentlemen, UNICEF's International Ambassador to the World's Children, Mr. Danny Kaye.
Thank you. I have been traveling for UNICEF for some 26 years. And as you can well imagine, I have seen people in desperate straits throughout the world. But never have I seen anything more tragic and heartrending than the plight of the men, women, and children in Cambodia. Men, women, and particularly children who are the innocent victims of war. Men, women, and children starving, homeless, sick, and dying. It is inconceivable, it is insupportable that a whole people, its civilization, its customs, its culture, is in imminent danger of being wiped off the face of this earth. Help to save a life, help to save a people, and be rewarded with the infinite joy of knowing that you have served humanity. Thank you very much.
Tonight, from the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion in Los Angeles, Because We Care. A benefit performance to support Operation California's direct relief efforts in Southeast Asia. Starring in alphabetical order, Alan Alda, Julie Andrews, Ed Asner, Debbie Boone, Glenn Campbell, Natalie Cole, Peter Cook, Billy Crystal, Jane Fonda, Robert Goulet, Valerie Harper, Michael Jackson, Danny Kaye, Chris Christopherson, Marsha Mason, Walter Matthau, Ali McGraw, Dudley Moore, Mary Tyler Moore, The Muppets, Bob Newhart, Peter, Paul and Mary, John Ritter, Seals and Crofts, Shields and Yarnell, Frank Sinatra, David Soul, John Travolta, John Voight, and the World Vision Korean Children's Choir. Because We Care, sponsored by Datsun, who invites you to test drive the all-new fuel-injected 200SX Sport Coupe at your Datsun dealer now. Shields and Yarnell. Ladies and gentlemen, our host for the first portion of Because We Care, Miss Juliette Root.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The world is not always perfect or fair or just, but it's the only world we'll ever know, and all the people in it deserve not just a taste of it, but a meal to fill their stomachs and warm their hearts, and to be reminded that they are not alone. Caring is what this evening is all about, and caring is what Operation California is based upon. Well, how did it all begin? With two young men who shared a single vision and purpose. These two men who started the organization never for one moment allowed themselves to believe that they could do nothing. They and their operation have thus far spearheaded 5 relief flights to Cambodia, carrying a total of over 100 tons of food, medicine, and infant formula. This gigantic effort wouldn't be a reality today, nor would this evening be possible without these two gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, Richard Walden and Llewellyn Werner. And since we choose to entertain you while informing you, we will do just that with the best that we have to offer. Ladies and gentlemen, the Muppets.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's really a pleasure to be part of this whole evening. And I have a little song that I'd like to sing. And Ralph, are you going to accompany me on the piano?
Drums!
Yes, Animal, you can play drums, but play them very quietly because it's a simple little song, okay?
Simple!
Okay, good. Shall we begin, Ralph? Sing a song, sing out loud. Animal, sing out strong. Animal, Animal, hold.
Quiet, yeah.
That's a quiet little song. Hold. Animal, listen, this whole thing, see, this is not to be a drum solo.
Drum solo! Drum solo!
Animal, will you cut that out? Animal! I'm sorry about that, folks. You'll be quiet now, huh?
Quiet!
A pretty little song.
Pretty!
Okay, well, sing a song, sing out loud, sing out strong. Scooter?
Sing of love there could be.
Franzo?
Sing for you and for me.
Everybody?
Sing our song. Make it simple to last your whole life long. Sing our song.
Come on in, everybody.
La 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 la.
Sing a song.
Last your whole life long. Don't worry that it's not good enough for anyone else to hear.
tune for Marcia Mason, Robert Goulet, and Bob Newhart. Ladies and gentlemen, Marcia Mason.
Good evening, everybody. The film and television industries, of which we are all a part, are used not only for entertainment, but also for reporting. And often they report pain and poverty. We've all heard it said that the camera never lies. And sometimes I think we wish it would. We know you, children of Cambodia. You are like ours, the children of America. You're fragile, hopeful, understanding, curious, learning. You're loving of your sisters and brothers, and laughing with your fathers and mothers. But you, children of Cambodia, unlike our children of America, are quite alone. Uncertain if you will wake to tomorrow, if you will be comforted today, if this morning's spoonful of rice or your mother's milk is your last meal. Children of Cambodia, many of you are orphans. No mother to feed you, no father to shelter you. And you are dying in your beds of cold, disease, and hunger. For you, children, there will be no tomorrow. There is no today. And yet you, daughter of Cambodia, go on dreaming for a next week. Son of Cambodia, go on struggling for a next month. We haven't shared your rice or shared your tears. And you, like our children, have a name. The only difference is we haven't met. It seems that war and its devastation have created a different kind of movie star. Well, the faces that we've just seen will haunt humanity long after the images have left the screen. I beg of you all to think and remember. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcia. And now, here is another of the caring, dedicated people who are joining our show tonight, Mr. Bob Newhart.
Thank you. You know, the wonderful thing about tonight, I think, is that you will see every religious denomination represented on the stage, because this cause cuts across racial boundaries or ethnic boundaries or religious boundaries, because our religions say basically the same thing: be nice to each other, and I guess that's what this evening is about, and yet they retain their own individualness. For instance, I'm Catholic, and I should say the Catholic persuasion. That is, although I don't remember anyone persuading me to become, my mother and father were Catholic, and so I became. No one came up to me and said, you know, we'd really appreciate it if you become Catholic. And Catholics, we feel guilty all the time because, well, those are the Catholics. They know what I'm talking about. See, when you go to confession, at the end of confession, you always have to say, I'm sorry, Father, I'll never do it again. And you know you're going to do it again. And the priest knows you're going to do it again. And very often you've done it even before you get out of the church. Now, everything was fine till about 5 years ago. We didn't bother the Pope, he didn't bother us. In 1 year, they took away St. Christopher and St. Patrick. Turned out they had been frauds all these years. And I always thought St. Christopher had magnetic feet because you could stick him on your dashboard and he would stay there. Now, the same year, they hit us with a pill. We can no longer use the pill, and we are back to rhythm. Rhythm is by far the most unromantic form of all, because the wife has the thermometer and the chart all the time, and you're in a crowded elevator, and she says, now. No. That's why we drink. That's why Catholics drink. With that kind of pressure, you drink too. See, non-Catholics, they don't understand confession, because we have confession. They don't understand how we go in this little dark room and tell someone else like terrible things you've done. But if you are raised Catholic, there's certain tricks you learn. You sit in the very last pew and you watch the two lines move. Now, whichever line moves the fastest, that's the one you get in. Because that priest wants to get the hell out of there. The hardest part I found in being Catholic was when you're 7 years old, you have to learn the commandments. And they're very hard to learn when you're 7, because you learn them by rote. You really have no idea what you're learning. Because the first one is, thou shalt not worship false idols. Now, I grew up in Chicago. I don't know about other cities. You can drive around Chicago 10, 12 miles, never even see a false idol. And even if you see one, the last thing you're going to do is worship it, you know? Maybe turn to your wife and say, lock the door, honey. I think that's a false idol over there. The other one was, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, because I never knew what the hell covet meant till I was 18 years old. I always thought the priest was saying, thou shalt not cover thy neighbor's wife. And I didn't want to do that anyway, you know, but it's only a sin if you cover thy neighbor's wife. You can cover all the other wives in the neighborhood, and you're home free. But the minute you cover thy neighbor's wife, you better get the hell to confession. And the neighbor we had was married to the ugliest woman I don't think he coveted her too much, to tell you the truth. Now, one thing we don't have in the Catholic faith that I miss, that they have in the Protestant faith, is the evangelists, the healers. We have nothing even close to that. Exorcism, maybe, you know, a little guacamole, something like that. Now, I saw one last week. I don't even know who it was, but he was a healer. And at the end of the service, I was fascinated by it. At the end of the service, they all line up. And the guy in front, he was on crutches. And this guy talked kind of funny. He said, what is your name, my son? And the guy says, Bill. What is your problem, Bill? And the guy looks at his crutches. He says, I can't walk. See, you know, I'm not being chauvinistic. I think a priest would have spotted that, you know? He says, all right. He says, all right, my son, you will come up on stage. You will stand behind the curtain. I will call out your name. You will drop your crutches. And you will walk. So he comes up. Next guy comes up. He says, what is your name, my son? He says, mine. I beg your pardon, my son. Mine. What is your problem, mine? He says, I don't talk right. He says, all right, Mike, come up on stage. You will stand behind the curtain. I will call out your name, and you will talk as normally as I do. So they're both behind the curtain. He says, all right, Bill, drop your crutches, and you can walk. And nothing happens. So, all right, Mike walks through the curtain, and you can talk normally. And Mike walks through the curtain. He says, Bill, fall down. I would just like to say what an honor it is to be asked to appear here, and what a wonderful thing it is that you're all doing. Thank you very much. Good night.
John Voight.
This is a 14-ounce box of rice. Rice, of course, is the staple food in the East. The average Cambodian needs from 20 to 30 pounds of rice a month. Just to keep the country alive until the next rice harvest will require 40 million times the contents of this box. Even then, it's estimated the March harvest will be only 9% of what's needed. You see, last fall, there were few seeds to plant and too few people strong enough to plant them. We must endorse and encourage those people who are trying to help us change these attitudes, whose vision comes directly from the heart. And that's why I'm here tonight, supporting this effort and sharing this evening with you. As part of this evening's entertainment, for one brief shining moment, here are Lancelot and Guinevere to sing tonight some of the glorious music of Richard Rodgers. Ladies and gentlemen, Julie Andrews and Robert Goulet.
With a song in my heart, I behold your adorable face, just a song at the start. But it soon is a hymn to your grace. When the music swells, I'm touching your hand. It tells me you're standing near.
It seems we've stood and talked like this before. We looked at each other in the same way then, but I can't remember where or when.
The clothes you're wearing are the clothes you wore. The smile you were smiling then, but I can't remember where or when. Some things that happen for the first time seem to be happening again. And so it seems that we have met before and laughed before and loved before. But who knows where or when?
Do I hear a waltz? Very odd, but I hear a waltz. Such lovely blue Danube music, how can you be still?
Out of my dreams and into your arms I long to fly. I will come as evening comes to a waiting sky.
Falling in love with love is falling for make-believe.
Falling in love with love is playing the
Longer when you're near me and I hear you speak my name. If you'll excuse the expression I use, I'm in love, I'm in love, I'm in love, I'm in love. I got a beautiful feeling. Everything's going my way. I'm in love, what a beautiful day. Heaven opens its portals to me.
Can I help but rejoice that a song such as ours came to be? But I always knew I would live life through with a song in my heart. For
We'll be right back with more of Because We Care with Seals and Crofts, Natalie Cole and Chris Christopherson.
Here are two young men who have always lent their words, their music, and their consciences to the cause of humanity. And they do so again tonight. Here are Seals and Crofts.
Strong is the light of unity. It can light the world for you and for me. So why don't we reach out and be one planet, one people, please. One planet, one people, please. One planet, one people, please. Please let it be. Please let it be. Storm clouds are coming, I can see it all. The old world is dying, it must crumble and fall. And from every nation I can hear the call. One planet, one people, please. One planet, one people, please. One planet, one people, please. Please let it be. Please let it be. There's never been a people on this earth like us. To stand to gain and prosper or to lose so much. If we just let go so our hearts can touch. One planet, one people, please. One planet, one people, please. One planet, one people, please. Please let it be. Please let it be.
A couple of years ago, America was invaded by the British in the form of a show called Good Evening. We have the entire cast of that show here tonight. Peter Cook and Dudley Moore.
Stella, my petal, would you send in the next auditioner, please? How do you do?
How do you do?
Nice of you to come along.
Oh, thank you.
Sparing your valuable time. Thank you very much. Mr. Spigot, is it not?
Yes, Spigot's the name, acting's my game.
I see Spigot is the name, And acting is your game.
You're it.
Mr. Spigot, we're not here to play tag. If you just settle down for one moment, please.
Oh, thought you might have liked a game.
No, not today. It's against my religion. Now, Mr. Spigot, you are auditioning, are you not, for the role of Tarzan?
Right.
Mr. Spigot, I couldn't help noticing, almost immediately, that you are a one-legged man.
Oh, you noticed that?
When you've been in the business as long as I have, Mr. Spigot, you get to notice these little things almost instinctively.
Yes, well, you're bound to ESP, isn't
That
it, really?
kind of thing, yoghurt. Now, Mr. Spigot, you, a one-legged man, are applying for the role of Tarzan.
Yes, right.
A role traditionally associated with a two-legged artiste.
Yes, correct.
And yet you, a unidexter, are applying for the role.
Yes, right.
A role for which two legs would seem to be the minimum requirement. Well, Mr. Spigot, need I point out to you with overmuch emphasis where your deficiency lies as regards landing the role?
Yes, I think you ought to.
Perhaps I ought, yes. Need I say with too much stress that it is in the leg division that you are deficient?
The leg division.
The leg division, Mr. Spigot. You are deficient in the leg division to the tune of 1. Your right leg, I like.
Ah.
It's a lovely leg for the role. As soon as I saw it come in, I said, hello. What a lovely leg for the role. I've got nothing against your right leg.
Ah.
The trouble is, neither have you. You fall down on the left.
Yes. Yeah, you mean it's inadequate?
It's inadequate, Mr. Spigot.
Yeah.
In my view, the great American public is not yet ready for the sight of a one-legged Tarzan swinging through the jungly tendrils shouting, hello, Jane.
Right, yes, right.
But don't despair, Mr. Spigot. I mean, after all, you score over a man with no legs at all.
Yeah, well, I've got twice as many, haven't I?
Yes, your streets ahead.
Yes. So there's still hope?
Of course there is still hope, Mr. Spigot. I mean, if we get no two-legged character actors in here within, say, the next 18 months, there is every chance that you, a unidexter, will be the very type of artiste we shall be attempting to contact with a view to jungle stardom.
Oh,
I'm just sorry can't be more definitive at this stage.
Oh,
you must understand with the state of the
Oh,
economy,
absolutely. Thank you so much.
whatsoever.
Thank you. Good night, Mr.
Thank you. Break a leg. Thank you.
Out of the rubble of another war in another land 25 years ago came a choir of Korean orphan children. Those children have grown and been replaced by others, and now the name tells a happier story. Most of those children are not orphans, but the spirit and courage the choir has always represented continues on. It's my pleasure to present the World Vision Korean Children's Choir.
Together, no matter
right back with Natalie Cole, Alan Alda, and Mary Tyler Moore.
I now give you Miss Natalie Cole.
And it's about time. What I'm really trying to say is, you may be in a big city, driving down a concrete lane, yeah, working 2 jobs to make a living. All you do is complain. Well, you should be thankful of what you got. Yes, you should be thankful, yeah, of all you got. Listen to me now. Waking up in the morning, seeing the sunrise. Ooh, it's enough to say, oh, thank you, Lord. Oh, rolling over, seeing my baby's eyes, yeah. It's enough to say, I thank you, Lord. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, Lord. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, Lord. Be thankful, oh, well, for what you got. I know you should be thankful, hey, 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 of all you got. Now, ooh, you may live in the valley, you may live on the highest hill. Some people say you don't do nothing but take the doctor's bills. Or you may be in a nursery or in a classroom, yeah, driving your big fine car. Airplanes take you afar. Oh, laying out in the sun, yeah, or just working on the run. Whoa, you need to be thankful, yeah, yeah, of what you got. I know you should be more thankful, hey, 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 of all you got. Be thankful, thank you, hello, for all you got. Listen to me now. Oh, you need to be more. Everybody needs to be more thankful.
One of the saddest words in our language is aftermath. It's the terrible result of a horrible event. Sad to say, wars and their aftermaths are nothing new. In the past 200 years, the country has seen war upon war separate reason from our brains, pull children away from their parents, and put distance between husbands and wives. Here are Mary Tyler Moore and Alan Alda.
May 24th, 1918. Dearest Jim, when you and I first married before the war, I remember talking often of our going to Paris. How strange to know that you were there before me. Although from what you say in your letters about children begging for food in the streets, France sounds nothing like we imagined it. What terrible things war does.
March 11th, 1945. Dear Anne, since the papers are full of the news, I guess I can tell you that I'm writing this from Burma. That's right, Burma. I bet you thought there was always a poem before the word and a shave after it. Now, what's a nice married guy from Delaware doing in Burma? I wish I knew. I see so much of hunger and disease and people being tragically affected by the war going on around them. How's the Red Cross work coming? I'll bet you look terrific in your uniform.
November 3rd, 1953. Jim, darling. Of course, the papers keep referring to a police action in Korea, never calling it a war. It seems to me that since the effect is the same, the word doesn't matter. All that does matter is how senseless it all is. Disrupting still another country, bringing death and degradation of body and spirit with us.
December 12th, or maybe the 13th, 1968. Dear Annie, I still don't know how people can live in this climate. But I guess you can live anywhere if living is important enough to you. I sure intend to stay alive. It's very hard for any of us to feel noble about what we're doing, like I think people could during other wars. All war seems to be successful at is destroying crops and livestock and homes in every village it touches. I don't know who the enemy is anymore. I only hope it's not us. Well,
sweetheart, I'll close for now, as I always do, with the hope that we'll be together again soon and forever. Maybe things will be better next year, or 5 years, or 10 years from now.
I'm sure we'll do our part. I miss you. Love, Jim.
Love, Anne.
It never stops, does it? Here we are in 1980, up to our necks in another aftermath.
There must be something to be learned from all those years, all those wars.
We surely must have learned that hunger and sickness affect us all. People on every side of every war.
That the relief of suffering is up to us.
Now.
Right now.
Because We Care will return with Billy Crystal, John Travolta, and David Soul.
Good evening. I'm Chris Christopherson, and this is my band. Thank you. Like all of you, we're here because we care. And we're proud to be part of this evening. Met her in a shooting gallery, speeding like a goose. Like when both of us was used to making strangers. She shook me down for all I had and ever wavered loose. But I was still too juiced to feel the danger. Anyway, now anymore, you don't know which is worse. Falling out of love or left behind. I just seen the sweetest dream and wind up like a curse. Maybe one too many times.
gentlemen, here is Billy Crystal.
Can you see me behind this? I just like to check. How are you? Thank you. I'm delighted to be part of this evening. I am in the midst of a major college tour, which is difficult for me because I'm allergic to corduroy. And, has anyone been to small claims court recently? For those of you who outrage at ticket prices at theaters and movies, go to small claims court. For a good, cheap afternoon, what laughs? The thing is, everybody's angry. See? Everybody is so angry. Veins are popping all over the courtroom. The thing that's funny is nobody speaks English. You walk in, you hear people discussing the cases. Whiplash. Now, a representative of the court comes out to talk to these people who are angry and not speaking, right? She comes out and says, anyone who needs a translator, please come with me. So she left alone. Now they read a roster of the cases that you're going to hear that day because everybody watches each other's case. It's really fun. Now, judging by the names of the cases, you can tell that certain cases are going to be over rather quickly. Rafael Hernandez versus American Airlines. And the cases get bizarre, you know. Your Honor, I'm suing this man here. He sold me a toupee. It's epoxied on backwards. I can't get it off my head. Every time I walk into a room, people say, see ya. I'm here. I would just like to add that in these times when our world is split more and more between us and them, and the haves and the have-nots, that it's important to remember that we're not alone, and they are not alone. And that's what this evening is all about. 3 special little words that mean so much to so many people, because we care. Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Here is John Travolta.
Thank you. This is the situation. In 1970, the population of Cambodia was almost 8 million people. Today, there are no more than 4 million still alive. Almost half of an entire nation has ceased to exist. And of those who remain, 1,000 women, children, men are dying every day. They need our help real bad. And this situation is not going to get any better, and our help won't give them luxury or security. It won't even free them from worry, but it'll only keep them alive. The rest of the problem is something for the future, but in order for there to be a future, we have to start with life. And I think that's what they deserve. It's what we all deserve. And I think it's what we must offer. I'm here because I care, and I'd like to add my voice to the others who care. The lady I'm about to present to you is a woman, an actress who no doubt cares. Her name is Jane Fonda.
People have said a lot about the countryside in difficult and lofty phrases, with feelings dark as night, cryptic or bitter as the words of a lover betrayed. But I would like now to say some simple things, simple as a field of rice or sweet potatoes, or a silent early morning. Please let me breathe again the air of yesterday. Let children frolic in the sun with kites over bamboo bridges. Just a narrow little space will be enough, 4 rows of bamboo trees surrounding, and leave a little space for an entrance, A place for a boy and girl to tell the story of the moon. For old women with babies to gather and chatter. Please give me back these things I've mentioned. A story so simple as a bird's unbroken song, as a mother, as a baby, as the life of long ago the poets used to tell. This poem was written by a young Vietnamese student who had lost his father, his sister, and his brother to the war all within the space of a month. It's remarkable, I think, how much poetry has come out of the Southeast Asia of the last 20 years. And it's even more remarkable that poetry and the urge to write it could survive 20 years like that. The Vietnamese, the Laotian, the Thai, and Cambodian poets are students, they're priests, soldiers, and scholars. They've given the world a body of work that's rooted in pain. And of course, their poetry reflects that pain. But there's also hope, patience, a deeply religious trust in the human spirit. Thank you.
There was a lovely lady with a lovely voice. Her name is Debbie Boone.